the Cincinnati Bengals.
2025 NFL schedule prediction. Let's get into it. The 2024 Cincinnati Bengals started 4-8, finishing the season with 5 straight wins to wrap it up at 9-8. Vegas has them winning 9.5 games this year. Let's see if that's possible. So last year they missed the playoffs, and one of the most obvious issues on this team was defense. A couple years ago, it was their offensive line. They couldn't protect Burrow. They still don't have a very strong offensive line, but without a doubt, their defense was horrendous last year. They would put up 50 in a game and still end up losing. It's ridiculous. The Bengals still have not re-signed Trey Hendrickson. That's one of the biggest offseason stories circling this team, along with how much money they just gave to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. In the draft, defense was obviously their number one priority, so they took Shamar Stewart and Demetrius Knight in the first 2 rounds. Both of those guys should be solid additions. What's going on with Shamar Stewart's contract is kind of concerning. I think they'll eventually come around to a deal. I think the Bengals are honestly at fault here, putting some really weird contract language into his deal, and that's really discouraging him from signing it. I don't blame the guy. I think he's going to pan out. He's an Aggie. I hope all the best for him. So I'll keep the intro kind of short today. They didn't get too many free agents, and the ones that they did were very defensive heavy. Their draft was all defense. I think they still have an offense that's plenty good enough to carry them deep in the playoffs. Joe Burrow, in my opinion, still a top 5 quarterback. I think this team has some serious pieces to rebound off of 2 straight 9-8 seasons. I fully expect this team to improve well beyond where they have been the past 2 years. If, and that's the big if we see a fully healthy season out of Joe Burrow and this defense has improved. So let's get into our week-by-week schedule prediction here. All right, so week 1, we started off with the away divisional game. This is against the Browns. Last year, the Bengals did sweep the Browns. You got to remember, they're in the AFC North. This division is no pushover. It's arguably one of the hardest divisions in football. However, I fully expect the Browns to repeat as the losers of the division, finishing 4th overall. I don't really think it matters who's starting this game. If it's Kenny Pickett, Shadur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Flacco, whoever it may be, I'm giving the Bengals the dub here in week 1. And then we're going to follow it up here with the week 2 home game versus Jacksonville. I really like Cincinnati in this one as well. I think they match up well against the Jags. I see the Bengals taking care of business in this one, and I'm going to go ahead and give them a win here in week 2. And then we have a tricky one. This is a road game at Minnesota. I know in the past predictions I've been saying that I don't expect Minnesota to be very good this year. This could be a tricky one. Minnesota might take this one since it's a home game early here in the season, but I'm going to have to go ahead and give the Bengals their 3rd straight victory to start the season off. And now we have their 3rd straight away game in the first 4 weeks of the season. This one is the toughest, however. This is on the road in Denver, Monday Night Football game. The Bengals have had 7 days of rest at this point, so you got to take that into account. But with that being said, for some reason, I just have a sneaky suspicion that Denver is going to be able to get it done on this night. I'm going to go ahead and give the Broncos the win here. And then a brutal week 5 game here. This is home against Detroit. This is a game that I see the Bengals potentially winning. However, at this current moment in time, I do think Detroit is a little bit better than Cincinnati. I'm going to go ahead and give them the win here. At this point, the Bengals are going to be sitting at 3-2 leading into this week 6 game at Green Bay. So at Green Bay, this is another tough one. I mean, I could totally see a world where Green Bay beats the Bengals, especially if Cincinnati's D isn't performing that day, where their offense may put up a whole bunch of points, but their defense just can't keep up, and it's just a shootout. But I think those 2 previous losses are going to kind of light a fire under the Bengals' ass here, so I'm going to have to go ahead and give them the win here at Green Bay. So the Bengals are going to be waltzing back into town after riding that high from beating Green Bay on the road, and it's a short week here, a divisional game versus Pittsburgh at home. This has trap game written all over it. I definitely think the Bengals, who split with the Steelers last year, like I said earlier, real tough division, could lose this game. For the sake of this schedule prediction, however, I'm going to give them the win here. The reason I gave them the win in that one is because this, to me, is the real trap game. The home game against the New York Jets. For some reason, I just see a scenario where the Jets can come into Cincinnati and beat the Bengals. Although the Bengals might be better on paper, I just had that gut feeling that the Jets come in and get things done here. I'm going to go ahead and give them the L. However, based on my schedule prediction from last week, I have Chicago coming into Cincinnati for Cincinnati's 3rd straight home game in a row and taking the L. I'm going to go ahead and chalk this one up as a W for the Bengals. And that's heading into their bye week. Now, coming out of that bye week, we have an away game in Pittsburgh. As I said earlier, Pittsburgh always plays up to their divisional opponents. They could beat the Bengals on any given week. However, I just believe that the Steelers haven't improved quite as much as the Bengals have. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to come straight into town, change the culture of this franchise, and just have them as a powerhouse running over everyone the way they used to be. I actually think the Bengals sweep the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. I'm going to go ahead and give them the dub here coming out of the bye week with that extra rest. Now, this New England game is tricky. Last year in week 1, New England beat the Bengals 16-10. It was one of their worst offensive showings of the year, and that was before everyone knew what Drake May was and how much potential the New England Patriots did have. Conversely, that was also when the Bengals were at their worst. This year, this is later in the season, I believe at this point, both teams had their schemes in order, and I think the Bengals just have a little bit better coaching, a little bit more talent. I think they get it done at home against New England. And they better get it done because in 4 more days, they have a Thanksgiving football game. This is on the road at Baltimore. In the Baltimore video, I said I think the Bengals are going to lose this one because it's in Baltimore. Last year, Baltimore swept the Bengals, scoring 76 total points against them. I mean, they were steamrolling that Bengals defense. This year, I expect similar things to happen, not because the Bengals defense is going to be bad. I just think that Baltimore knows how to play against this team. I think Baltimore gets it done on Thanksgiving. However, I see them losing 2 weeks later. Starting with that Baltimore Thanksgiving game, the Bengals have an absolutely brutal 4-week stretch here, with 3 out of these next 4 games being on the road. I actually see a little bit of an upset here after the Bengals lose to the Ravens, and I think they go on the road and beat Buffalo. It's just another one of those gut feelings I have. Both of the teams have top 5 quarterbacks. Anything could happen in one of those matchups, especially late in the season on the road in Buffalo. That could be a snow game, who knows. It would be totally reasonable to say the Bills would stomp on the Bengals in this one. However, I just think this day the Bengals get it done. And then I have them taking the home game against the Ravens, followed up with a tricky Sunday Night Football primetime game on the road in Miami. For some reason, I just don't like the way that Miami's offense matches up with the Bengals defense. I think this one totally has the possibility of being a shootout as well. I'm going to go ahead and give this one to the Dolphins, even though I see a world where the Bengals win that one. After the Bengals' 5th loss there, they end out the schedule with 2 home games against Arizona and then Cleveland. These next 2 games have huge implications on playoffs for the Bengals. They're sitting here with 10 wins come week 17. If they want to enter the playoffs at the top of the AFC and capture that AFC North division, they need to win these last 2 games, and I think they will. I think they get it done, beating Arizona and then beating Cleveland to end out the year 12-5. So like I said at the beginning of the video, Vegas has the Bengals winning 9.5 football games. I have them going 12-5. So for the sake of this prediction video, I'm going to tell y'all to
Hammer the over.
I totally think if Joe Shiesty and that offense can repeat their success and this defense can make slight improvements, they don't even have to be top 10 material. If they can hold teams to 24-ish points or lower, this offense can put up some serious stats. I think the Bengals could make themselves a deep playoff run this season. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys, for today's NFL schedule predictions. If y'all will, please go ahead and leave me a like and a comment. I just started YouTube, so when I see you guys liking and commenting on my videos, it really gives me a lot of motivation. So thanks for that, and we'll go ahead and see y'all in the next one.